this week, we find out whether Maruti Suzuki Victoris is the next big bestseller from Maruti stable. We also take a look at the fresh updates on the SD Roadster model. Hello and welcome to Overdrive. I am Soni Dutt. Maruti Suzuki have recently launched their very new mid-size SUV that sits below the Grand Vitara and will be exclusively sold via the Arena dealership. Now, this sits at a very attractive price point between 10.55 to 19.99 lakh rupees ex-showroom. It also comes with a host of interesting features and engine options. Tuhin will bring you more details.
Now, Maruti Suzuki is used to dominating pretty much every segment it enters. Now, with the C-SUV segment, that hasn't quite been the case. Yes, the Grand Vitara is a strong seller, but with the new Victoris, Maruti Suzuki is looking to unlock the full potential of its network. But before that, how is this car to drive actually, which is what we're finding out today. The blocky look that Maruti Suzuki debuted with the Brezza has been extended here to create an arena theme, so to speak. So you have a smart face with the segmented lighting, big air dams and flat simple lines that give the Victoris a reserved but still modern look. In profile, you have quite a long estate-like glass area with a slightly sloping roof, which gives the impression of the Victoris being longer than it is. There is a good 210 mm of ground clearance, but we do wish the 17-inch wheels filled out the wheel wells better. The most striking design element is probably the full-width lighting at the rear. This will remind you of some more expensive cars, but it draws attention and makes this SUV look wider than it is. Now the Victoris gets a power tailgate, which is obviously pretty helpful. And this is the hybrid variant, but Maruti Suzuki has sort of rearranged the way it packs in space here. So you have a fully flat floor. Now it's still about 300 liters. We don't have the full specs yet. But as you can see, you can, if you are a bit clever, pack a fair bit even in this space. So it's quite a deep space. So lengthwise, you can pack these 3 trolleys, maybe even a 4th one. I've put a backpack. So in that respect, it's good. Other than that, you also get 12-volt power outlet here and the lights that you find in pretty much every Maruti car. And there's also a subwoofer here for that Infinity audio system. But one area of concern with all variants of the Victoris, not just the hybrid, is that you don't get a spare wheel. Yes, you do get a tire inflator kit and a tool kit. But as you can see, there's no spare wheel, which in our conditions is going to be something you have to be very careful with. All versions other than the CNG variant have a provision for this though, with the spare being available at an added cost. Now when you step inside the Victoris, you do get the sense that this is a slightly more premium, a bit more upmarket feeling car than what Maruti Suzuki have had in the past with the Grand Vitara. And that is down to start with the general design of it, where you have this more modern, horizontal kind of theme to it. It's not like a waterfall design like how the Grand Vitara had. I also like the fact that they haven't gone with chrome or a lot of gloss black. Instead, they've used this kind of bronzed finish, which goes quite well. The ambient lighting inlaid in the dash is a nice touch, but again is restrained in the usual Maruti way. You notice more scratchy plastics in the lower reaches of the dash and some flecks in the door trim, but everything has been screwed in place consistently. I do really like how this new steering wheel is. I think it's one of the more premium bits of trim that Maruti Suzuki has added in a while. They do their steering wheels well, and this sort of takes it up a notch. I do like the new seats that have been added in this Victoris. Now they are ventilated, but slight flaw in them, or just an oddity in them, is that this middle section here is fabric. So what that means is that this part doesn't cool that well. So on a very hot day, that might be a bit of a problem where only these bits cool the best. But they are supportive, so that always helps. You now get a fully digital instrument cluster for the first time in a Maruti Suzuki. This 10.25-inch screen may not be the brightest, but it is especially simple to navigate on the move. You have loads of information, it's easily configurable, and you also get turn-by-turn navigation updates from your phone projection, which is quite helpful. This makes the head-up display somewhat redundant, but it's a convenience that you get used to quickly enough. You also have a new touchscreen interface. It's still the same 10.1-inch size, but the bezels are smaller and the interface is more intuitive and fluid. A widget-based layout makes most functions easier to access than before. A good addition is that of inbuilt navigation and a wider range of connected features. Here's a look at all the features that you get with the Victoris. Oddly, the top spec hybrid variant misses out on some important features like an electronic parking brake, paddle shifters and ADAS. The Victoris is 5-star rated for both Bharat and global NCAP, so Maruti Suzuki has been working hard to put to rest the bad rep it has received on its car's safety credentials in the past. To this end, the Victoris is also the first Maruti Suzuki car to get ADAS. The system seems to have been tuned well for our conditions and isn't especially intrusive. It's also good that there are hard, easy shortcut buttons to turn off the systems quickly when you don't need them. Now the Victoris continues to be that same 2600mm wheelbase as the Grand Vitara, so it's no surprise that from the backseat things have not changed all that much, which also means that this is not the most spacious second row that you will find in this segment. So you will notice that for my height, I'm about 5'6", 5'7". It's enough with the seat set to my driving position. So I have a decent amount of space in terms of my legroom and even to tuck my feet in. The seat is placed reasonably high. So even if you're under 6 feet tall, headroom is going to be an issue. I only have about this much. And I also noticed that while the rest of the cabin has been improved, they could have worked on improving the headline edge, that sort of this material which doesn't quite sit very well. The panoramic sunroof adds a spacious feeling, especially with the all-black color option, and the shade is a better quality now too. You do get more equipment like the 2 Type-C chargers and a small storage cubby, even though the rear door pockets could be larger.
Well, as I mentioned before, the Maruti Suzuki Victoris comes with multiple engine options. Stick around to know more after this short break. Welcome back, you're watching Overdrive. Is the Maruti Suzuki Victoris set to be the next big bestseller from the brand? Well, it might as well be, because it offers you a host of engine options from hybrid to petrol to CNG, as well as an all-wheel drive variant. Let's hear more.
The hybrid system is derived from the Grand Vitara and makes 92 PS and 122 Nm from the petrol motor and 80 PS and 141 Nm from the electric one, paired with an eCVT. You then have that nearly unbelievable 28.65 kmpl efficiency figure. Now, as you might expect, driving this strong hybrid Maruti Suzuki Victoris is quite a familiar experience. It's not very different to drive from the Grand Vitara or the Hyryder, but I must say that one point where there has been some improvement to start with is the refinement. You don't have as much vibrations or rattles filtering into the cabin, so it does immediately give the experience a slightly more premium feel. The NVH improvements have come due to changes made to strengthen the body structure. These improvements are noticeable but still haven't got the Victoris to par with some ICE powertrains in this segment. Now, coming to the way this hybrid system functions, it's very natural. There's nothing really for you to get used to. So if you have enough charge in your system, you can more or less coast on the highway using mostly electric power, or a lot of the low speed crawling in traffic happens on electric power. And the switchover is very seamless, very linear. With the improved refinement, you seem to notice it a bit less. As its powertrain might suggest, the Victoris works best when driven calmly. The steering is light and easy at city speeds, but it does call for some guesswork at higher speeds. It's not the most direct and doesn't seem to add a lot of feedback. The top hybrid variant is 70 kg heavier than the equivalent naturally aspirated version, which does mean that Maruti Suzuki has had to draw a fine line between plushness and control here. You notice the weight, and the hybrid rolls more apparently around tighter bends. Just like the powertrain, it's best when you dial down your excitement from behind the wheel. But yeah, this powertrain is not for you if you're an enthusiast, because the way it delivers power is very functional and efficient. So you will notice that while at middling speeds like we are in right now, say 50, 60, 70, it's very adept at keeping up with traffic and giving you that sense of momentum. When you want to push on for an overtake, you do realize that it gets a bit noisy, and there's really not that shove that you get from, say, a diesel or a turbo petrol that you might otherwise pick at this price point. Now, in terms of how the Victoris rides, I have to say that feels solid and well put together at all times. It feels like it can take a beating, and really it has a plush, calm ride at most times, which you will enjoy. So at higher speeds, it handles potholes, even slightly bigger ones, very confidently. You can just drive over them without slowing down. As you can see, these expansion joints, it takes them very steadily, very focused. Yes, at certain times at lower speeds over some really bad stuff, you do have a slightly sharp edge and you're not completely cocooned from what's happening outside, but really. In the larger scheme of things, this is a comfortable car. For many of you, the added cost of the hybrid probably will not make too much sense, which means that the mild hybrid naturally aspirated 103 PS and 139 Nm 1.5 litre petrol with the 6-speed torque converter could be all the car you need. Now the outputs can seem underwhelming, but the Victoris is only 1225 kgs in this form, which means the performance is adequate and you still get a good 21.06 kmpl efficiency number. The Maruti Suzuki also gets an all-wheel drive variant with this engine, which we drove on a prepared off-road course. This wasn't an especially challenging track, but we did get a demonstration of the all-grip AWD system in its various modes. In the lock mode, it is quite capable and will get you out of a tight situation if you find yourself in one. Momentum is key given the low power outputs, but the Victoris has a fairly competent traction control system and a tough but light chassis that helps it in the rough stuff. Although for truly serious off-roading, you will need something with the 4x4 and a transfer case. I'm now driving the naturally aspirated mild hybrid variant of the Victoris, and this one could very well be a great default choice. To start with, it's quite a peppy engine, so off the line, yes, you don't have that electric kind of performance, but you have that crisp, clean power delivery that you usually have with these Maruti Suzuki engines, so all that's there. It's not the most rev-happy motor of its kind, especially with this gearbox, but you do feel that the powertrain is focused on giving you as smooth an experience as possible. Yes, it could be more refined and it takes a while for it to get to high speeds, but it does so in a predictable and fluid manner that will be good for the everyday driver. The Aisin gearbox is usually offensive. The shifts are soft and well timed and don't seem too focused on efficiency. You always seem to be in the power band, and if you do want to speed things up, the manual mode does let you do that to an extent, although it usually avoids getting anywhere near the red line in this mode too. The mild hybrid system too seems to give you just that touch of assistance to smoothen everything out. Yes, you do notice that the higher you go, it struggles and it has to keep downshifting and so on to really give you the kind of performance that you want, but you don't feel completely outgunned. So if you're looking for a calm, comfortable entry-level C-segment SUV, then this could be a really great buy. And generally the car, because it's a bit lighter and because it's not carrying around all the batteries and the heavy CVTs and so on, it just feels a bit more agile, a bit more cohesive, a bit nimbler in every sense. Now while the strong hybrid by itself is quite a plush car, this feels slightly plusher, a bit better. It feels a bit lighter on its feet in a good way. Its body movements are a bit more refined. With prices topping out at Rs 19.98 lakh for the hybrid Victoris is especially efficient, has a modern interior and is potent enough to make it one of the more logical everyday SUVs you can buy in this segment. But the top naturally aspirated AT version could be the sweet spot at 17.77 lakh. While the back seat is a bit tight in both and this engine is less quick and nowhere near as efficient, it could be the one for you if you aren't going to rack up a load of mileage. The lighter cabin, better dynamics and longer features list sweeten the deal. The top AWD variant, priced Rs 19.22 lakh, also seems worth the upgrade if you want that added layer of capability.
Well, it's time to head into our final break here on the show, but don't go anywhere because on the other side, we will tell you all about the updated YesD Roadster.